Welcome to Awaken the Mind, the NLP and Hypnosis Guide, hosted by David Uhas.
You're listening to Awaken the Mind, the NLP and Hypnosis Guide, a podcast that inspires the curious to the professional to discover meaningful content and pursue their passions. My name is David Uhas, and I'm a master NLP practitioner and hypnotist, best known for losing over 100 pounds and running 6 marathons in 2 years. And I'm sitting down with hypnotists, NLP practitioners, and coaches to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact in the lives of others.
Our guest today is Jodi Sleeper-Triplett, and she is a master certified coach, coach trainer, mentor, presenter, and keynote speaker. She is the author of Empowering Youth with ADHD and contributing author of Becoming Self-Determined, Creating Thoughtful Learners in a Standards-Driven Admissions-Frenzied Culture. Her company, JST Coaching and Training, provides coach training programs to individuals and organizations worldwide. Ms. Sleeper-Triplett developed the first coach training program focused on coaching students with ADHD, which is now offered in English, Spanish, and Turkish. She is the recipient of the 2016 CHADD Hall of Fame Award for 20 plus years of service and the 2017 Founders Award from the ADHD Coaches Organization. Ms. Sleeper-Triplett is seen by many of her peers as the foremost authority in the field of student and ADHD coaching. She is the 2019-2020 president of the Association of Coach Training Organizations, forwarding a platform of diversity, equity, inclusion, and excellence in coach training. Jodi's coaching model was used in the Edge Foundation College Coaching Research Study and in the development of the ADHD Benefits of Coaching Scale. Her research interests include the positive impact of coaching on self-determination, resiliency, and executive function skill development on students. Please give our guest today a warm welcome, Miss Jodi Sleeper-Triplett. Hello, Jodi. How are you?
David, great. How are you? My name is a mouthful, as were some of the book titles that I had nothing to do with, but great book anyway. So it's good to be here.
Good. And we were talking just a little bit ago about where you're from. You're from Virginia. What's happening in Virginia right now?
Well, aside from the fact that it is gorgeous outside, and it's just nice to have a sunny day. You know, it's that you go back and forth. But right now, I live right outside of Washington, D.C. So as most people in the United States and probably in the world know, there's a lot going on. And that's one of the reasons I love my work, because I can focus on that and not think about what's going on outside of the realm of coaching and coach training. But and I'm originally, just so you know, even though I now live in the South, I'm originally from Massachusetts. So, but I fell in love with this place 40 years ago, and I'm still here.
So what was it like growing up for you? Were you always interested in this kind of work?
For me, I was always interested in helping people, and I enjoyed writing. So kind of those two pieces, whether it was volunteering, eventually doing work with the developmentally disabled, as well as just digging into what did I need to do in order to go on inside. I thought I'd be a psychologist, and then diverted my path a bit over time and found coaching. And when it's specifically ADHD coaching and executive functioning coaching, it fit into everything that I wanted to do, because for me, growing up was challenging, and at the same time, it gave me an opportunity to see how different people live and thrive, and those who don't thrive, the resilience that comes up. And so all of that for me pulls it right back into what I do today.
Well, I've been following you for a while, not stalking, just following. And I'm real impressed with what it is that you do and the work with the ADHD. as well as the quality of your training that you offer. Can you talk a little bit about what led you into specifically the ADHD training?
Well, when I started back in the late 90s, when I started doing coaching, my goal was to reach kids. Because it was right after ADHD coaching became a buzzword. Ned Hallowell and John Rady had written the book Driven to Distraction. And in there was a chapter on ADHD coaching by Nancy Rady, who was then John Rady's wife. And so reading the chapter and thinking, well, you know, it's for adults, but I can work with kids. So I started doing a little bit locally here in the Washington, D.C. area, and found that after probably 2 or 3 years, I just could not handle the demand for coaching. And no one else was doing what I was doing. They all said, oh, why would we work with children? And why would we work with teenagers? They're not old enough. They're not smart enough. They're not capable enough. And that just made me more angry because to me, they're a gift to us. And we have that opportunity as adults to help them craft their lives the way they want to. So what happened out of that was I started telling people about what I was doing and how swamped I was. And I had a few people knocking on my door saying, could you train me? Could you train me? And then I thought, well, I could do this one-on-one and just for fun, or I could actually create a training. So literally that's what happened. It just grew to the point where I started doing training courses, and we used to do them by telephone since that's all we had. We didn't have video. And I started with just a short course working with kids and teens, and then it grew into the college student piece. And now we have a much broader range of courses that go all the way up from college into adults, really looking at students, learners of all ages.
When I first found out about you years ago, I think it's been about 10 years ago, actually, I had some anxiousness thinking about becoming a coach through the work that you do. Can you talk a little bit about the specific training that's unique with ADHD coaching?
Absolutely. So with ADHD coaching, I guess I'd break it into two pieces. One is the knowledge. Those of us who are coaching people with ADHD, executive dysfunction, and related issues, as we know, there's an overlap between depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, and so on. But in order to be a good coach and have empathy and understanding for the people that you're working with, it's important to understand the brain, because it is clear when, I know for me, when I start coaching people, I want to know, how does your ADHD affect you? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? And the knowledge that I have oftentimes informs the client. They have these aha moments of, oh, I didn't know that if I ate protein, it would help me be more focused in the morning. For, teenagers skipping breakfast, for example. Being able to understand that there's emotional dysregulation going on. So sometimes they're up and down, maybe even in the same day. So the more that we as ADHD coaches understand about the neurobiology of the brain and how people learn, it allows us to be more connected to our clients and to be better able to serve them. An example of the importance of that to me is over the years, because people do know me as an ADHD coach, I've had referrals from life coaches who say, we've gone as far as we can, and I don't understand, my client just doesn't get anything done, and I don't know what's wrong with them. It's like, well, it's not about having anything wrong. It's, how do you coach? What are the steps? How do you break things down into baby steps, into small chunks, work on accountability and encouragement, and a lot of the more, in a way, more directive way of coaching that oftentimes we need to include in addition to the life coaching piece to help our clients move forward. And others just don't know how to do it.
So who would be a good candidate for someone that was that is a coach and is looking at ADHD coaching.
In terms of candidate for training?
Correct.
Okay. Really, anyone who is interested, and to me, the bias that I have is that we all would benefit as coaches and therapists and others to understand how the brain really works. That's just not a part of all the trainings that are out there. But in order to really jump into, as you said, you were a little bit afraid to take that leap into the ADHD coaching. And a lot of people are, which is why we spend time talking to those who are interested to find out, well, is this about you learning about yourself, or is it about learning what you need to know in order to help other people? If it's at least a combination of the two, that's great. There are people who come and say, well, I want to be the coach to my children, so teach me how to do that. And that's not what we do. It's a great added benefit. But the key is to be able to come into coach training and learn about ADHD and how it impacts young people as they are at different ages and stages in life, and also be able to let go of what's going on at home. So for those people who are signing up for a class that have family members with ADHD, absolutely. You have understanding, empathy, frustration, you get it. At the same time, it's important to be able to leave that at home when you're in the training so you can focus on how can you objectively work with someone. So that to me is one of the important pieces.
I see that you're accredited by the International Coach Federation, the ICF, and the Center for Credentialing and Education, the CCE Global. There's some work to do to be able to just be accredited, let alone to be offering training that falls under that umbrella. Can you talk about the value of the quality coach training?
Sure, because as coaches, we are credentialed, and that's what confuses a lot of people. So I'm glad you used the word accredited, because our programs are accredited, but as individuals, we are credentialed. So I hold my different credentials, my ICF credential, my CCE Global credential. But the accreditation process that both organizations put coach trainers through is quite rigorous. We have to follow the core competencies, that they call it, of coaching. What is it that you are going to teach? So I have to delineate from competency to competency. How are we going to teach active listening, powerful questioning, establishing a relationship with a client, managing ethical boundaries, and so on. So all of the pieces need to be layered into the training in order for us to then have students in our classes who come out the other end saying, okay, I know how to do life coaching, and I can get my credential from the International Coach Federation, and I have a specialty of ADHD that will allow me to work with young people as well as adults. So it's that specificity hour by hour. I mean, it can take, I've had accredited courses since about 2004, 2005. And as my courses have grown, the process becomes more rigorous. But the nice thing about it, especially in my work with the Association of Coach Training Organizations, there were people out there who rush to get their programs out there, or just as an example, in 5 days you can become a coach. In 5 days you cannot become a coach. And I know that from experience as well as from my role as a coach trainer. It takes time and practice. We wouldn't want to send therapists or lawyers or teachers or anyone out there without some training that's really embedded and utilized over time, a period of time. So it takes 1 to 2 years for people to get to that level where they're ready to apply for a credential. And the programs that are so quick, I got my certificate overnight online, that's not what I consider quality coach training, and it's not what most of us in the field of coach education want to see out there.
Udemy has all of these incredible training programs, which they're a good foot in the water to just kind of, hey, is this something that I want to do? My first training with coaching, it was a year-long program, and I flew to Arizona 5 weekends, and there's like 4 or 5 days we were there. I mean, it was a big commitment. It wasn't something I clicked through and was a coach in a couple hours. Definitely want to acknowledge and recognize the International Coach Federation, the ICF. That has always been one of the leaders, correct? Is that the first?
It's the first, and it's kind of scary to think that I was there from the almost the very beginning, and a few years after it started. And it's incredible to think that we now have close to 35,000 credential holders around the world. And if anyone's interested, you go on the ICF, it's coachfederation.org. If you go on their website, all the research, all the surveys that have been done to just see the demographics. Most of us are in North America, but each time I look, every year, it shifts and gets bigger and bigger, which is so exciting, because when I think about the kids, I want every child to have a coach, and they don't all live here in the United States by any means. And so being able to work globally is really important. So those are the people, when you talk about training, there's so many coaches out there who could benefit from the additional training that we offer, so that they could then serve the public in a very different way than they might be doing, let's say, in the corporate world.
Things have changed so much in the last 10 years, and the last year and the last 2 years with coaching. I remember the thought of doing online coaching just terrified me, as well as the reliability of those earlier programs that were not always reliable to.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
How has things changed? You not only offer one-on-one coaching, you offer trainings, I imagine workshops. How has this all changed?
Well, what's changed and what's really exciting is that if we go back to what we were talking about earlier about understanding the brain and how people learn, we all learn differently. So here you and I are able to use our visual skills, our auditory skills. I pick up on body language or look at people as if they're kinesthetic and they need to really see what's going on or move around. They can do that and still be in a class. So what's beautiful about having gone from doing phone training, some in person, and I do workshops at conferences and travel. Now I go to colleges and universities and teach them how to integrate coaching skills to help college students be more independent and self-determined. But with the video, it has really literally opened up the world. I just finished a short 7-week course with a group in Hong Kong. Aside from the fact that I had to teach at 6:30 in the morning, my time, it was phenomenal. And at the end, they said, oh, wow, this is just the beginning. We can't wait to do more of this. I would not have been able to do that had it not been for Zoom and other video platforms. So we really get to connect with each other, and that piece of body language, that intuition that I've developed over time, and we teach people how to do that, how to really get a sense of what's going on, not just what they're hearing, but what they're feeling. That comes across when you have a good video connection. The old days, it was really hard to do that because you were looking through static or wondering if the connection was going to stay on. So now we just have the cohorts are connected in a way that I never imagined. They stay in touch. They visit with one another in person. Someone locally is buddying up with someone in my class now, happens to live in the DC area, and her buddy is in another part of the country. And I was meeting her and some other people, the local person, for lunch. And she came in and said, oh my gosh, my buddy is so excited. I'm meeting you in person. This is such a rare thing because we don't do it but it doesn't take away from the learning. And that to me is a real gift because it helps so many more people learn as compared to what it used to be like.
Shifting perspectives,
Mhm.
we've mostly been talking about the coaching part and trainings. What about the perspective of teens and college students? What are the benefits that they receive from being coached?
Yeah, and that's what keeps me going day after day, year after year, because there's such an incredible sense of, wow, I didn't think I could accomplish anything. And now here is someone who's not my parent, not my teacher, not telling me what to do, but asking me, what would you like to do? And what is it that will help you to move forward, rather than saying, well, why don't you do it this way or that way? And just that shift, when I'm teaching, I'm always reminding our training students that they might be the first person in the life of that teenager who has ever asked them for their opinion. What do you think about this? Maybe in a classroom, but in terms of life, to ask, what is it that you want to focus on in our coaching sessions? And where do you see yourself? And if you're not sure about that at all, that's okay. We can work on today. And as time goes on, by giving feedback to that teenager and helping them feel more confident and independent, they have a better sense of self. And when you really get yourself, you have a much greater opportunity to know where you're headed. So it helps not only in relationships between teens and their parents, because we take away some of that tension, but then looking at, where do I want to go? College choices, or maybe you don't want to go to college. That's okay. Let's look at other options. So they've never had that. And for me, that's the gift that we get to give to young people every day.
You have published 2 books, Empowering Youth with ADHD, and also contributing author, Becoming Self-Determined, Creating Thoughtful Learners in a Standards-Driven, Admission-Frenzied Culture. So talk about your book, Empowering Youth with ADHD.
So Empowering Youth actually originally started as an expanded manual to go with the course that I was teaching at the time on teens and college students, the coach training course. And as I began to stretch and really look at what the book was for and why I wanted to write it, it made sense that a lot of the tools that were in there, basically what is coaching, how does it differ from therapy, looking at the coaching process, how parents fit in to the process, when parents have to step back. I call it sort of doing that dance of the parents need to take a step back while the coach cuts in and works with the student. So that entire process that is outlined through the book really became a guidebook that parents were using and are using to say, oh, okay, I get it now. I have a better understanding of this coaching process, the idea of how to work with natural consequences, but also looking at rewards and incentives instead of punishment. Because if we want people to be successful and to be motivated, for young people with ADHD who are always feeling like a failure, in order to help them get motivated, they need to have something to work toward that's short term. So all of that is outlined in the book with skills and strategies for people to use. And it's also a core of what we use in our coach training, because it outlines the entire JST model that was used in the research study. So it has little tidbits for parents, therapists, and coaches throughout the book on each chapter.
The other book that you were a contributing author in, Becoming Self-Determined, Creating Thoughtful Learners in a Standards-Driven, Admission-Frenzied Culture.
Yes, it's a mouthful. That book was truly a labor of love by a group of amazing individuals who I had the opportunity to get to know through two of the people who were part of the research study that was done on my work, Sharon Field Hoffman and David Parker. And what they wanted to do was create a book with research-based and reference materials that could really reach anyone in higher education. So how do you deal with parents? What do you do when you have FERPA and professionals on campus aren't allowed to talk to parents? How do you work with parents without turning them away? Then there was the coaching piece, which I co-wrote with my colleague Christina Fabry, who is at Prescott College in Arizona. And she and I created the model looking at how academic coaching is more than just academics, which is what I've always pushed and talked about over the years. But we took it into the higher ed model, looking at how do we help students become successful academically. And that includes looking at how to be more self-determined. So if we look at all the pieces of self-determination, it also includes a sense of belonging. If you don't feel good about being on campus and being with other people and you don't have social skills, who cares about the grades? You're not going to make it. And being healthy and balanced and all of those things. So we really spelled that out in the chapter. And it's a very rich book in terms of the information in there. And it is available, actually, that's available on Amazon, but it's put out by AHEAD, the Association of Higher Education and Disabilities. It's just spelled AHEAD. And they're a wonderful organization that focuses on students with disabilities, but the book is written a broad brush for anyone. So it was really fun working with the team and collaborating on the different chapters and seeing the final outcome.
What trainings do you have coming up?
Oh, we have a training empowering students through coaching, which is our largest course. It's a 6-month course that takes people all the way through all the life coaching competencies, then the ADHD, looking at lifespan and different levels of emotional maturity and executive functioning issues. And at the end of the course, we include all the mentoring that ICF requires, all the training that's needed to get an associate certified coach, an ACC credential. My goal is to continue to expand, but for now, that is sort of, it's our core course. And what we're finding is people who have never coached before, who are coming in and want to get started on the coach credentialing path, it's a great course because everyone's learning from the beginning. And our faculty, most of them have been with me for about 5 to 6 years, if not longer. They've all trained with me. They've met one another through the trainings. So it's like a one big family. And so each cohort has an opportunity to get to learn all the skills. We have practice, we have mentoring, all the resource materials. And that one starts January 29th, and there's still a couple of spaces left. And then for those who are already coaches or just want basic coaching skills, we have our Coaching Teens and College Students course, which is just a 35-hour course. It's either a 3-day weekend with me or a 10-week teleclass or video class. And that gives tidbits on the basic coaching skills and how to apply it with teens and college students. So it's for a different audience, but both of them cover what's needed to really get out there and move forward with coaching.
What is the best way for our guests to get a hold of you?
The best way to get me is to go to jstcoaching.com, and you can just click on there and send an email. It'll come right to me. You can also sign up online to talk to one of us, to talk to me and learn more. I really believe in what I do, and I'm so honored when people are interested that I've been taking most of the phone calls myself. So I'd love to have conversations with people in your audience to just find out, what are you looking for? And is this the right match for you? So please, between now and the middle of January, I'd say at the latest, because as I said, we only have a few seats left, and then the next courses will start in March or in May.
Well, thank you, Jodi, for being here today. I so enjoyed listening to you talk about what you are passionate about, and it shows. Thank you, Jodi.
Great. Thank you, David. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today with Awaken the Mind.
Yeah.
Hosted by David
Relax. Awaken the mind. You need to understand. If you can't, you must. And if you must, you can. Now that I got you, let me put you in a trance. Got you feeling hypnotic. Your mind, let me massage it. Your thoughts are getting quiet. Your stress subsiding. You starting to see images, but it ain't no mirages. Think it's time to calibrate. Take a breath and concentrate. Get into your subconscious. Time to feel the energy, the brain waves. Let's go deep into your memory. Beware of self. Let the worries melt. All you see is you and you don't see no one else. Auditory digital, talking to yourself. It might seem bizarre, a feeling you never felt. This is your time to shine. Awaken the mind, the NLP and hypnosis guide.